Welcome back to the channel, and thank you for joining us once again as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, surprising minting blunders and unbelievable hidden treasures that could be sitting quietly in your pocket change. And today's story is one that captures the imagination of every collector and treasure hunter, because we are exploring the unbelievable tale of the 2006 P5-cent coin that has become famous in numismatic circles for supposedly costing a jaw-dropping $72 million due to its extraordinary combination of errors, mistakes, and mysterious production anomalies that have elevated its value far beyond what anyone would expect from a modern nickel. And as we go through its story, you will see how tiny flaws, subtle missteps in production, and rare minting accidents can come together to transform an ordinary coin into a legendary piece of numismatic history. Because even though millions of 2006 P nickels were minted, only a microscopic fraction contained the ultra-rare phenomena that collectors spend years searching for, and these anomalies create a perfect storm that pushes this particular coin into the realm of seven-figure, and in this case multi-million-dollar fantasy finds that fuel the imagination of enthusiasts around the world. So let's dive deeper into the layers of mystery surrounding this extraordinary piece and why collectors believe the 2006 P5-cent with certain rare error combinations can reach astronomical values due to their impossible rarity, stunning visual discrepancies, and unique origin story, which begins with the Philadelphia Mint's high-speed production lines where billions of coins are struck every year, and occasionally a strange sequence of events aligns that produces something truly anomalous. Starting with the first peculiar error associated with this valuable version of the coin known as the deep die-clash phenomenon, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchette between them, transferring ghost-like images onto each die. And when a planchette is finally struck afterward, the resulting coin displays overlapping outlines, faint duplicates of design elements, and distorted contours of Jefferson's portrait, or the reverse design, which collectors immediately recognize as something spectacular. But what makes the 2006 P example so special is that the die clash on this rare piece is believed to be unusually intense, far stronger than what is normally found, giving the coin a dramatic, almost surreal appearance that stops collectors in their tracks because the lines, shadows, and doubled impressions look like a bold engraving rather than an accidental trace. And as if that wasn't enough, this particular example is also believed to possess a dramatic double strike error, meaning the coin was hit once by the dies, shifted out of position, and then struck again at a slightly different angle, causing Jefferson's profile to show shadow-like doubling and the lettering to appear staggered or stretched, creating a mesmerizing layered effect that collectors prize above almost any other modern mint error. And when these two major errors combine on the same coin, the value multiplies dramatically, because the odds of both occurring in the same moment on the same planchette and then actually escaping into circulation without being caught by quality control are almost impossibly small. But the story does not end there, because the rarest known 2006 P nickel also features a dramatic off-center strike that pushes parts of the design toward the rim, leaving some letters cut off and others unusually elongated, while a crescent of blank planchette appears on one side, a feature that collectors always find captivating because it visually proves the error occurred at the moment of minting and not later through damage. And when you combine off-center striking with a die clash and double strike on a single coin, you are looking at a truly monstrous rarity, the kind of piece that advanced collectors would fight over at auction, because no two of these extreme errors ever look identical, and each one becomes a unique piece of minting history. But what pushes the legendary price of $72 million into the realm of mythology is the whispered possibility that this particular specimen was struck on an experimental or transitional planchette, meaning the metal composition might differ subtly from the standard copper-nickel blend used for regular nickels. And collectors have long speculated about rare test planchets that occasionally enter the production line by accident, whether from previous years or experimental batches used to test die pressure. And if even a single 2006 P nickel was struck on a leftover alloy, a foreign planchette, or a misfed blank with unusual thickness or weight, it would instantly become one of the rarest modern mint errors ever discovered. But beyond the physical anomalies, there is also the compelling narrative of survival, because for such a spectacular error to make it past machinery, inspection teams, and automated rejection systems, then into circulation or private hands, and eventually into collector awareness. It must have survived an incredible journey, and that survival story itself adds to the mystique and perceived value because collectors know that most coins with extreme errors are destroyed before they leave the mint, making survivors disproportionately valuable. And when you add in the possibility of die rotation errors, where the obverse and reverse dies were misaligned so the designs appear twisted when the coin is flipped, or the presence of weak strike zones where Jefferson's hair details fade unexpectedly because of uneven pressure, or even microscopic cracks in the die that created raised fissures across the surface known as die cracks or die breaks, then you have a coin with layer upon layer of anomalies that make it one of the most complex and visually dramatic mint era specimens ever imagined for this date, and collectors value not just one dramatic mistake but the stacking of multiple mistakes which transforms a coin into a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. And all these factors work together to create a frenzy among collectors and hypothetical valuations that soar into the tens of millions because rarity, uniqueness, and the story behind the coin all contribute to its legendary status. And while most 2006p nickels are worth face value, the idea that one extraordinary example could combine a deep die clash, double strike, off-center strike, rotated die, experimental planchette, die cracks and survival against minting protocol is what fuels the imagination and keeps collectors searching through rolls hoping to uncover the next numismatic miracle. And it is this dream of discovering a coin with so many dramatic minting errors that the collecting community treasures as much as the coin itself, because each era tells a story about the moment it was created, the malfunction that caused it, and the rare set of conditions that preserved it. And when all those stories come together in one coin, the resulting piece becomes a legend, inspiring treasure hunters everywhere to look more closely at every nickel, examine every detail, and never underestimate what a simple coin could be hiding, because history has shown again and again that ordinary pocket change can sometimes hold extraordinary value, and the 2006 P5 cent with its mythical $72 million appraisal stands as the ultimate reminder that the hunt is always worth it, that the rarest finds often appear unexpectedly, and that coins with remarkable errors are far more than metal discs. They are pieces of history, accidents preserved in time, and treasures waiting to be rediscovered by someone curious enough to look closely. Next 2002 P5 cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into another unbelievable story from the world of rare coins, a place where everyday pocket change can suddenly take on legendary status and turn into life-changing treasure. And in this episode we are exploring the astonishing tale of the 2002 P5 cent piece that collectors claim could be worth an unbelievable $75 million because of its bizarre errors, unusual anomalies, and mysterious minting quirks that have made this otherwise ordinary nickel one of the most talked about modern coins in numismatic circles. And as we walk through the incredible possibilities behind this value, we invite you to settle in, stay engaged, and let your imagination roam through the fascinating details that could make a small piece of metal from 2002 transform from spare change into the kind of jackpot collectors dream about. Because when it comes to rare mint errors, even the tiniest deviation, the smallest clash, the faintest doubling, or even an overlooked experimental strike can make a coin rocket into mythic territory, and the 2002 P5 cent story is packed with every one of these possibilities and more, beginning with the most important question on everyone's mind: how could a simple nickel from the Philadelphia Mint ever be tied to a value as massive as $75 million? And the answer comes from the tangled web of minting mistakes and unexplained anomalies that some experts believe occurred during production runs of that year, starting with whispers about a mysterious die setup that may have gone wrong during the initial striking process, where a misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies could have created a once-in-a-generation error known as an extreme off-center strike combined with a partial double die impression, a scenario so rare that it has hardly been confirmed on any US nickel in modern history, and collectors love to speculate that one or more of these 2002 P coins slipped through the quality control system entirely intact, carrying with them the full visual chaos of misaligned lettering, stretched devices, warped images of Thomas Jefferson, and distorted features on Monticello that could be so dramatic and so strange that the coin instantly becomes a one-of-a-kind showpiece. The kind that would send major auction houses into a frenzy and cause millionaires to compete over owning a singular piece of minting history. And that's only the beginning, because other collectors argue that the 2002 P5 cent might owe its mythical value to a different class of mint error entirely, one involving a mysterious planchette that was never meant to be used for a nickel at all, perhaps an off-metal strike, the result of a leftover blank intended for an entirely different denomination accidentally finding its way into the nickel presses, maybe even a foreign planchette from an experimental run or international contract program, because the US Mint has been known to strike coinage for other nations, and if one of these blanks slipped into the machinery, producing a nickel design struck on a completely unexpected metal composition, the resulting coin would be astronomically rare, especially if it displayed unusual weight, color, ring, or toning that set it apart from all other nickels minted that year, and the discovery of such an off-metal strike could send shockwaves through the hobby, since these types of errors routinely fetch staggering sums even when they appear on pennies, dimes, or quarters, so imagine the value if a 2002 P5 cent was confirmed to have been struck on a planchette intended for something exotic like an experimental alloy or an international coinage contract. And adding even more intrigue is the possibility that the 2002 production year experienced a brief die crack crisis, where a hot die, fatigued from overuse, began developing dramatic die cracks stretching across Jefferson's portrait or branching off across Monticello's dome and steps in lightning-shaped fissures that make the surface of the coin look almost electrified, and while minor die cracks are not unheard of, the rumor here involves extreme cracks so large they alter the structural integrity of the design, giving the coin a dramatic, almost sculptural appearance, and when a die reaches that level of damage, it usually gets pulled immediately, but if even a few coins escaped before the mint technicians caught the flaw, those coins become instant numismatic legends, and that brings us to another incredible possibility: a mysterious die clash so intense that the reverse details may have transferred ghost-like onto the obverse or vice versa, creating a surreal overlapping of designs where Jefferson's silhouette might faintly appear behind Monticello or architectural lines seem to stretch onto Jefferson's cheek or collar, giving the coin a visual complexity rarely ever seen in circulation coinage, and die clashes of this magnitude are treasured by collectors, especially when they occur on modern nickels, because they demonstrate a mechanical mistake that only happens when the dies smash into each other without a planchette in between, leaving remnants of reversed images engraved onto the metal, and if the 2002 P5 cent contains one of the clearest or most extreme die clashes ever documented, it would immediately become a museum-worthy piece commanding unimaginable value, and further fueling the mystique of this coin is speculation about a potential mule error, one of the rarest mint anomalies possible, where mismatched dies from two different coin types accidentally get paired together, producing a hybrid coin that should never exist, and although mules are extraordinarily rare, their values routinely skyrocket into millions when authenticated. So imagine the pandemonium if a 2002 P nickel was discovered with the obverse of a nickel but the reverse of a dime or quarter, or vice versa, creating an impossibility so stunning that collectors and historians would scramble to document every microscopic detail, and this possibility alone is enough for some numismatists to claim a $75 million valuation if the coin is indeed one of a kind. And layering onto this already extraordinary story is the idea that the 2002 P minting year may have produced a handful of experimental satin finish strikes or high-pressure test strikes that were never intended to enter circulation, yet due to a clerical oversight or a bin mixing mistake, they were released anyway. And these test strikes, often sharper, brighter and more detailed than regular business strikes, showcase razor-edge lettering, ultra-clean device separation and unusually deep luster, and if one such test strike combined with any of the previously mentioned errors, say a double die, a die clash or off-metal strike, the compound rarity would push the coin into astronomical value territory, and some experts even believe a small batch of 2002 P nickels may have been struck using an improperly annealed planchette, one that overheated during the preparation stage and developed subtle color variations such as golden hues, deep blues, or fiery purples that naturally formed before striking. giving each coin a unique tone that cannot be replicated artificially. And while toning alone won't command tens of millions, toning combined with major structural errors absolutely could, especially if there is only one surviving example, and beyond the physical errors themselves, the mythology behind the coin only increases its aura of value, because stories circulate among collectors about a mysterious former mint employee who reportedly witnessed an extremely rare 2002 nickel anomaly but couldn't provide official documentation, creating a cloud of rumor, speculation, and excitement around the idea that somewhere out there, perhaps in a forgotten box of old change, hides the once-in-a-lifetime error that experts talk about in hushed tones. And when you combine rumor with rarity and the sheer thrill of discovery, the hype alone can push perceived value into the tens of millions among collectors who dream of owning a coin with lore as powerful as its errors. And it's this blend of tangible minting mistakes, theoretical possibilities, whispered stories, and sheer numismatic imagination that elevates the 2002 P5 from an ordinary piece of pocket change into a symbol of hidden treasure, reminding us that in coin collecting the line between everyday object and historical artifact can be astonishingly thin. So as you think about that small nickel minted in Philadelphia more than 2 decades ago, remember that extraordinary value comes from the stories we tell about rarity, the evidence we uncover, and the belief that somewhere, at some point, a coin like this truly did escape into the world, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And the idea of a $75 million nickel captures the wonder and excitement that make the hobby so endlessly fascinating for collectors everywhere. Last 1997 D5 USA coin. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable numismatic discoveries that could be sitting unnoticed in your pocket change. And today we are talking about a truly astonishing story surrounding the 1997 D5 coin. A coin so ordinary at first glance yet described as costing an unbelievable $78 million because of a combination of extreme errors, striking anomalies, minting defects, and rare production possibilities that collectors believe make it one of the most mysterious and potentially valuable modern nickels ever discussed. And as we move through this incredible story, you'll see how one small everyday coin could become the focus of huge attention due to the strange mix of minting mistakes and unusual features that some collectors speculate may elevate its value into the realm of numismatic legends. So settle in as we explore what exactly could make a simple 1997 D nickel worth such mind-blowing money, how these errors might form, why collectors prize them, and what details you should look for if you ever come across a 1997 D nickel that seems just a bit different from the rest, because even though most nickels from that year are completely ordinary, there are certain unique combinations of errors and structural quirks that can push their potential value into unimaginable territory. When coin collectors and error specialists evaluate a coin claimed to be worth millions, they usually examine unmistakable signs of minting mistakes, and with the 1997 D5 some of the possibilities that drive interest include dramatic off-center strikes that push design elements into unusual positions, planchette flaws that alter the surface texture or shape of the coin, and die clashes that imprint faint outlines of design details in places they don't belong, creating strange ghost-like shadows that can be spotted by those who know where to look. And the idea that a specific 1997 D nickel might combine multiple severe errors at once is what sparks these discussions of multi-million-dollar worth, because coins exhibiting several overlapping mistakes are extremely rare and sought after, especially when they align with production anomalies at the Denver Mint during the late 1990s. One of the most talked about possibilities is a double-struck error where the coin receives more than one impression from the dies, but at slightly different angles or positions, creating doubled lettering, stretched outlines, or distorted features of Jefferson's portrait. And while minor doubling appears on many modern coins due to die erosion or aging, a true double strike where the second strike lands significantly off-center or shifted can increase desirability enormously, and collectors always search for these dramatic forms of doubling that create bold and unmistakable distortions across the coin's surface. But it's not only doubling that excites collectors. Another potential reason for the massive valuation is the existence of wrong planchette errors, in which a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination, such as a dime or a foreign coin planchette still present in the presses at the Denver Mint. And if a 1997 D nickel were struck on a smaller or lighter metal blank, this not only changes its weight but can alter the strike quality, edge appearance, and the way the design wraps around the surface, creating a truly rare hybrid coin that specialists view as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Some collectors have theorized that the rumored $78 million 1997 D nickel could be an example of an ultra-rare mated pair error, where two planchets collide during striking and fuse or press together, resulting in a coin with bizarre structural anomalies such as deep impressions, unexpected ridges, or deformed outlines that show how the planchets interacted under minting pressure. And such bizarre mint mistakes are exceedingly scarce because they require a very specific and unlikely sequence of mechanical failures within the minting machinery. Another layer to this coin's mystique is the belief that certain 1997 D nickels may display misaligned die errors where the obverse and reverse dies fail to line up perfectly, causing the portrait and Monticello building to appear twisted or rotated relative to each other. And extreme examples of rotation errors can command huge premiums because they are immediately visible and unmistakably linked to minting miscalculations or mechanical malfunctions. Furthermore, die break errors, also known as CUDs, can contribute to the uniqueness of a rare coin when portions of the die crack or break off, leaving raised blobs or missing chunks of design on the final coin. And coins with massive die breaks are often seen as mint rarities that collectors admire for their dramatic and unusual appearance. And a combination of multiple CUDs on both sides of the coin can create something so visually striking that its scarcity skyrockets. Additional speculation about the value of a 1997 D nickel reaching the tens of millions includes the possibility of a coin struck during a transitional metal testing phase. Although this is extremely rare for nickels in the late 90s, still, the mere idea that a test alloy or experimental planchette might have slipped into circulation sparks the imagination of enthusiasts who dream of discovering such a piece, and if such a coin existed, made of an unexpected metal composition or showing unusual coloration or reflectivity, it could be viewed as a priceless mistake of minting history. With all of these extraordinary possibilities in mind, what truly drives the story of the $78 million 1997 D nickel is the belief that it may be one of the ultimate perfect storm error coins, combining multiple rare mistakes such as double striking, wrong planchette formation, severe die clashes, rotation errors, and planchette deformities all in one single piece. And when collectors imagine such an impossible combination surviving the minting process and entering circulation, they understand why the value could rise astronomically, not because every 1997 D nickel holds such merit but because a single coin with a 1 in a billion combination of flaws would be nearly irreplaceable, attracting extreme bidding wars among elite collectors. The excitement also comes from the notion that coins like this can hide in plain sight, mixed among ordinary change where people rarely examine their nickels closely, and it's this possibility that makes the story enticing. The idea that greatness can be discovered in the smallest everyday object, waiting only for someone observant enough to recognize its significance, and the thrill of that discovery motivates collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters to review their pocket change repeatedly, in hopes of finding a similar rare and valuable anomaly. And while most people will never encounter such an extraordinary 1997 D nickel, understanding the types of errors that create such extreme values helps collectors appreciate what makes numismatics such a fascinating field, because no two error coins are exactly the same and each strange imperfection tells a story about the minting machinery, the conditions of the factory, and the split-second mistakes that leave permanent marks on the metal. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the legendary claims about the 1997 D 5-cent coin said to be worth $78 million due to unprecedented errors, remember that what truly captivates the coin community is the blend of rarity, mystery, and possibility that accompanies discussions of extreme error coins. And while these values are often theoretical and symbolic of the rarity involved, they inspire collectors to look closely, learn more, and appreciate the tiny details that make every coin unique. So keep exploring your change, keep searching for those unexpected minting miracles, and stay tuned as we continue uncovering the stories behind the world's most extraordinary coins.